Okay, guys, the chair is pulled up. You know what that means. It's time to hang with Kitten Stitcher. Good afternoon. I was going to shoot one this morning, and honestly, it's Sunday. It's a little bit of a lazy day, and I did a bunch of work on the website. I have all these wonderful donations that have come in for my fundraiser, and it's hard to not keep posting them because they keep selling. Yesterday, we made $1,000, our first day of the Stash for Cash for Cats and Dogs, which is wonderful. It gets us a good chunk of the way towards our goal. People are donating amazing things, and it's so fun to get the mail now because every bit of it helps. And it's just cool because it's like I'm helping, the people who donate are helping, the people who buy are helping. So it's super fun. People are donating things that are like new designs by really popular designers, old designs by really great designers. Everything's in great condition. I've gotten some things that were out of print, including a copy of Souvenirs of Summer by Blackbird Designs, which went for $49, which was awesome. I am expecting, I probably will get some complaints from people at some point that the prices are too high. I'll talk about this more in my next issue too, but it's for charity. So if things are in new condition and you can buy them other places right now, I'm listing them for full retail because it's for the cats and the dogs. And if things, have a little more wear and tear on them, then I'm knocking the price down. But if it's something that's going for eBay on on eBay for $130, I'm going to list it for $49 and see what happens. It all helps. And so thank you. Thank you to everybody who's helping. Fitz says thank you too, don't you, Fitz? I don't think Fitz has been in the last few videos. He's really been hanging out with Harrison lately. Have you? Jennifer, if you're watching now, I'm going to be working on your gift, so maybe take a hike. So I didn't really get a lot of stitching done, guys, so I'm glad you're over because this gives me an excuse. It gives me an excuse to park it for at least an hour. And here, should we move this in? It's kind of fun rearranging the room. The cats get a little bit like, oh. And you can see I've got a Fitz-free, can't stick his face in this one, although he could tip it over. Just have to be really careful. I'm working on Jen's Christmas gift. And, last week I think I asked everybody what they were working on, and a lot of people have gifts going for Christmas. Some people don't. Some people are working on things for themselves. It's fun on Instagram to see people decorating and getting their Christmas stuff out. Kathy Barrick. I want to be Kathy Barrick. She has the coolest stuff. She showed today she's got white feather trees in her living room that are, one of them is decorated only in antique bird ornaments. And it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Antique glass bird ornaments. It would be fun just to go visit, actually. But there are my thread colors for Jen's gift. I made a little bit of progress on it this week, but I had a couple of fibro days, and then I worked my butt off the other days. Steve and I went yesterday, and we picked out a new couch, which is very exciting. It was kind of my goal for the year was to get a new couch. Our couch is now 9 years old, and we got talked into a cream-colored couch for the second time in our marriage. Oh, no, it's really easy to clean up. You just spot clean. Don't get a cream couch, guys. Don't do it. It's not horrible. It's just not great. No one wants to sit on it. So we got a really cool couch, and it was on super sale, and it'll be here before Christmas, which is very exciting. So 9 years. Took me 9 years. It's the longest we've had a couch ever in our marriage. In my life, probably. It's the longest I've ever had a couch. I remember as a kid, things in the 70s were pretty funky. And I remember us having, I'm just clearing the spot because I think I'm going to put my drink down here so Fitz doesn't be an idiot. Oh, there's my hopper one piece. I would love to stitch on that. I would love it. I'll just scooch everything out. Okay. All right. Is that going to stay there, or are you guys going to be idiots? Huh? Are you guys going to be idiots? Oh. And 2. Okay. So now I've got a spot for my Dasani strawberry guava. This is good. My sister introduced me to Dasani instead of LaCroix when I was out in Seattle, and it's really good. LaCroix is nice. This is also subtle on the fruit flavor, but it's not quite as... LaCroix to me almost has like a baking soda flavor to it. This is just like slightly closer to the soda spectrum. It's 0 calories, but it's not quite as like foamy tasting, I want to say, as the LaCroix. LaCroix is still good. Not saying anything, LaCroix, but Dasani I like a little better. The cats get excited when it's time to sit and stitch too, because they know what pulling the chair forward means at this point. And I try to clear things off a little bit. So, did I show you this already? This is what I'm working on for Jen. We had a sampler exchange, and this was due in October. And Jen and I are both late. We always are, because other things come first. It's called Be Happy, Humble, and Kind by Brenda Gervais, and she loves Brenda Gervais. It's like her favorite designer. So I thought I'd do it, and I'm pretty sure she hasn't done this one. That's what's hard about it, is she stitches like a crazy woman, and I never know what she's done and what she hasn't done. Oh, and there's that. Okay, cool. I love this eggshell color by Classic Colorworks. It's so practical. Sometimes the overdyed whites are kind of just like white thread. It's like they just like breathe color at it, and it just barely is not white, but eggshell is a really nice color. I mean, overdyed white, just use white, but eggshell is nice. I like Grits by Weeks Dye Works too. I mean, there are a few. What is the one by Sampler Threads has a cool one too. That's kind of just like off-white. Because in DMC there's white and there's ecru, and then there's the B5200, which who was the weirdo who was like, okay, so I know all our numbers are like, 3-digit and 4-digit numbers. What do you think about B5200 for white? I'm sure there's a story behind that. Maybe I should do like an investigative report on with the zine to figure out whose fault that was. People still are asking about my lamp, Verilux. Got it on Amazon. You get free shipping if you're a Prime member, and it's been great. It's been great so far. It hangs not quite straight. I need to fix it, and that's not their fault. I took it on one of my retreat trips to St. Charles, and I cracked a thing in the base. It still works. It's fine. It just doesn't sit up as straight as it used to. Oh, and I needed that eggshell. Hi, Peaches. Hello. Peaches is a funny cat because he hates to be picked up, but he loves to sit on your lap. He kind of spazzes out if you pick him up. He gets all weird. So I'm stitching the house now. And for whatever reason, I love stitching... Oop, I gotta check the time. Okay. I love stitching houses. It's just kind of fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just get to go just solid back and forth, like eating a cob of corn. Somebody asked me, like, well, so you have cats and everything, and does that, how do you keep the cat hair out of your stuff? Ha 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 ha. You do not keep the cat hair out of your stuff. I keep the cat hair out of your stuff, so if you shop with me, everything is packed away in sealed totes that I open to get things out, and then I close them back up again. But my stuff, no, I don't. It doesn't. There, a little cat hair here and there, I suppose, never hurt a sampler. I hope this is, yep, it's still recording. Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm going to move this. Occasionally, you're going to see me jiggle my mouse, and that's because the computer thinks sometimes if I am not like using it for a while, it goes into like sleeping mode, and so then it gets to where I can't see anything. And it's not that I enjoy looking at myself all the time, it's just that I can see things are still functioning and that the sound is still recording. Bendy Stitchy this week, I think it was this week, filmed a video twice because she filmed it the first time with no sound. Which, I mean, I've done, I haven't filmed a whole video, but I filmed part of one once with no sound. There's this whole technical aspect to making these videos that, I think people who don't make videos maybe don't realize. It's not that it's, once you get it figured out, it's great. You know what? I'm going to get my, what do you call it? My sticky roller thing, just to make sure Anyway, so this person asked me, I'm still here. How do you keep the cat hair out? And I said I don't, but I use a lint roller now and then to get the hair, just get the hairs off and around. And I don't know where I got these. I think I got them at Walmart. They're nice. They come with a lot of sheets, which I like. So that's what I do. And hey, I mean, it doesn't have to just be cat hair. It could be dog hair. It could be husband hair. It could be your hair. It could be just lint from your blanket. Fuzz happens in life. I'm just gonna... I don't want Jen's gift to be full of cat DNA from my house. Okay, I'm gonna feel much better about this. One of the things that I still notice on floss tube, and I know you guys probably notice it too, is just the unending need people, women especially, I mean there are some male floss tubers, and I guess I don't notice if they do it or not, of just like constant apologies for things that are, I think, you know, kind of minor and don't really need apologies for. So like I did not iron this piece today to show it to you because I'm just going to be stitching on it. I don't feel the need to apologize for not ironing it, but I do a little because I think we want people to be happy and enjoy things, and we want to explain things and be sorry. But you know, people apologize like, oh, I haven't made a video in a while, or oh, I didn't get very much stitching done this week, I'm so sorry, or oh, I was going to do this but I'm so sorry I didn't get it done. And it's okay. We don't need to apologize to each other. We're friends, right? And it's pretty minor stuff. Don't even think about it, Peaches. So it's been really fun this week to read everybody's comments about Thanksgiving dinner and what their favorite dishes are. There are some that I've never heard of before. One person even mentioned turnips, and I know turnips are kind of one of those things you either like them or you're, you know, with the majority of people. Somebody showed me a Brussels sprout recipe that was called like Laughing Heads, which is cool. Lots of people, sweet potatoes, stuffing, pumpkin pie, cranberries. Really, I mean, every part of the meal has its admirers. But then a few people talked about leftovers, and no doubt, Thanksgiving leftovers are the best. Opening up the fridge and knowing that there's a whole bunch of really great food in there. Every year I make what I think is a really large batch of stuffing, and it just doesn't last very long. It's probably good because it's not so good for us. It's just bread, seasoned bread that's baked and with cream and butter and vegetables. I'm sure you get, you know, something out of it. Joy. But it just kind of feels like the Christmas season already. Everywhere you go, the stores are selling Christmas things and people are decorating. And, you know, I never was really one that was like, oh gosh, you know, you really should wait until after Thanksgiving to even just talk about Christmas. But it's really such a short 4 weeks. And, you know, there are Christmas songs about like keep Christmas in your heart all year long, but not until the day after Thanksgiving is not how it goes. So I say if you want to celebrate longer than that, that's really cool. You could do a whole year of Christmas, work on nothing but Christmas pieces, and play Christmas music on the weekends or whatever, you know, just to kind of keep that spirit. I don't know if you'd get sick of it or not. We have what do you call it? It's a group me. My family and I have a group me account. My mom and dad, and then my siblings and their families. And it's a fun way to keep in touch. And we were talking about what are our favorite Christmas movies. And, you know, everybody's got their kind of standards. It's pretty hard to beat the Charlie Brown Christmas, I think, for people my age, anyway. That's kind of a good memory. And I love the soundtrack. If you don't have that, it's really good. It's very jazzy and very, very sweet. And so, I don't know, for me, that's probably quintessentially Christmas. We often, most years, will watch the Muppet Christmas Carol. And I think it was the first movie made after Jim Henson died. So it still has that really authentic sweet, sweet Muppet kind of feel to it. I think it was dedicated in his honor or his memory. So we watched that one. I've never seen the whole Elf movie, I don't think. I've seen parts of it. And I like Will Ferrell. I don't know why. That one just doesn't interest me as much. It's a Wonderful Life is a good one, although it, kind of makes you weepy. The Grinch, the original Grinch movie, the cartoon. That's, something back from my childhood too. All right, Mr. Lamp. I need lights on my fingers because once you get real close to the fabric, it's like you can't see the hole anymore. With the sewing method, you're just there the whole time pretty much, so maybe a headlamp. Right, Peaches? He says, yep. And the weather feels colder, so that makes it definitely feel more like Christmas. It's hard living in the South and not having it snow, on and around Christmas. Because to me, growing up in North Dakota, Christmas was snow. And so we never ever have snow down here for Christmas, or we haven't for 13 years. And so it would be, it would be kind of magical if it snowed. But really, if it snows once in a winter, it's amazing. It just doesn't snow very often here. Last winter we had it snow twice, and once it was a pretty good, it wasn't by any definition like a Midwest snowstorm, but it snowed, a number of inches, and I think it stuck around until the next morning, which never really happens. And it was kind of a sleety, wet snow. So it wasn't great for driving in. And of course it was the day of college graduation, and Harrison walked, so we had to go out. And the campus closed everything except they had the graduation ceremony. They didn't even delay it a day. They were like, nope, we're going to have it. And of course there were people that got hurt falling on sidewalks. It made me very grouchy because I had to go into work anyway. I was the only person that had to go to work. And not only did I have to go to work, I had to distribute big, giant yellow garbage cans, like trash cans like you'd have outside, for the kids to put their graduation rentals in, their caps or their gowns and sashes and things. And so it, was not my favorite, but whatever. It was fine. It was fine, right, Grumpy? I'm going to, after this video, what time was it again? Okay. I'm going to make some more project bags this afternoon, I think. I took a class on Thursday morning and at the Fabric Dock in Wiggins. And I showed it in my video yesterday. Oh, I see it here. I'll get it and I'll show it to you. It's just right here. And so, everybody makes project bags, and I've made some, but I really have wanted the last, year to get to know my sewing machine a little bit better and use it more. So I made a project bag. I think it turned out really cute. And it's not perfect, but it's really good. It's like probably my best one that I've made. And so I'm going to make some more. I bought the vinyl, and I bought this foam stuff, which is kind of cool. I still have it here from shooting my video on Friday. This Bosel, it's like a stiff, double-sided, like fusible foam so it stands up. Because I think, the project bags I've made were kind of limp, and this stands up, and you iron fabric to the front and back of this, and then I ran lines down it. She had us run lines down ours, or she said you can quilt around your shapes and then it stands up better, which I liked that. I like the idea of that. And then she had us do binding on the edges, which was cool. I had never really done, official binding before. I did it by machine, and I did an okay job, but I know how to do it better next time. So I'm going to make some project bags for Christmas gifts for not just some stitchy friends, but also for my family members. I think my sister would like one. I think my mom would like one. And I'm going to make some for Steve's family. Oh, my sister-in-law, Anna, maybe for Claire. But it's a fun way to use fabric that, like, you don't have any other use for. I don't buy a ton of, quilting fabric. I've bought things over the years for, like, finishing for smalls. Like I'll get an 1/8 yard bundle of, like, the French General fabrics, which are great for doing, having enough for, like, pin cushions and things like that. And I find things here and there. But sometimes I find fabric, or I get gifted fabric that's kind of wacky, which I like, but it's like, what do you do with wacky fabric? Because a lot of the times wacky fabric is, it might be like a big print. And so then even if you're going to make a smaller an ornament, you don't really get the full wackiness of it because you're not using a big enough piece. But these bags you could make in any size. And once I get this, I'm going to make more this size. And once I get this size down, I'm going to try making, adjusting the size and making bigger ones. This one would be, I think, a good one for a half size project. Right, Peach? Right. Right? But they're kind of fun. It's kind of fun to make. And it was fun to take a class with people that I didn't know. I just found out, I didn't find out about it, but Jen just took me to this quilt store real quick when we were on our way to the Midwest Stitchers Retreat. This is far too long. I had been by it, I just had never gone in, and I was always like, oh, that's so cute. But I just never was by at a time when I could stop, or and they were open. So we went, and sometime I'll take a video. I was going to do it this last time, but it just didn't seem appropriate at the time. So, but yeah, she's got really cool, fun. It's a mother-daughter, and they have really fun taste in fabric. Lots of, every quilt store kind of has a personality, and they have a lot of stuff that's like kind of vintage, 30s and 40s stuff. They have a little bit of, like the Sandy Gervais French General fabrics, and but it's a lot of just like fun, colorful, retro looking things and holiday things. But I love all of it. There really wasn't a fabric there that I thought was subpar. I asked her if she's carried the Blackbird fabrics, and she said there just are so many fabric lines, they just don't, get them all in. But it sure is fun to look. And they're very sweet, both of them. So I went to the class, I plopped down, and it was a bunch of, older ladies and me. And it was just kind of fun. They were funny, and it wasn't, you worry if you go to, this is a monthly gathering, the third Thursday, they call it like the coffee club or something like that. And you worry like, oh, I'm going to be the holdout. I'm going to be the person that doesn't really know. And no, it wasn't it at all. And, I think in a way it was a good class to go to because the people who took the class are probably quilters, mainly. And so the fact that this had like vinyl and foam and a zipper, they were just like, oh no, what are we doing? I haven't sewn a zipper in years. So that was kind of cool. But it's a good hour away, so it was a good chunk of my Thursday morning, which is fine. It's good to do stuff like that and kind of get out of your normal routine. Grumpy, do you want to sit on my lap too? She says, yeah. Do you want to sit like there, or she says, where I want to sit is right there, where Peaches is. Come on. That's a good girl. She's so nice. You gonna get down? Peaches knows right where to go. The cats are having a great time now with the sun. It moves across the back of our house, and so they always kind of follow it across the whole back of the house in the morning and early afternoon. But now it just gets dark so early. And I read online this guy was like, well, it gets dark earlier and people are generally unhappy, but at least we got to sleep an extra hour that one time. I'm not against daylight savings, but, I also live in the South. The daylight here isn't as, it seems like up as you get farther north, it gets more drastic how many hours of daylight you have. And down here, it doesn't vary as much. So up north, I remember as a kid, we used to play sometimes until like 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, and there would still be some daylight left. A little bit. It would, of course, be very dim, but you could still see. And down here, it just doesn't stay light as long. So who knows? Who knows, right, Peaches? We used to play really late. And the problem with being a Midwesterner, I'm sure, as those of you who live there know, is the mosquitoes. Once the sun is almost down, the mosquitoes come out like crazy. And when we moved to the south, it's kind of one of the things I thought was going to be like really buggy. I once upon a time in my life said I'll live anywhere except, I don't want to live in a big city where we have to rent a place, a little apartment, and I don't want to live in the deep south. So here I am. And one of the things I thought is just like, oh, it's so buggy. There's going to be so many bugs. And really, not as buggy as I thought. It's different bugs, so like the cockroaches are more, everybody has, times when you see a cockroach in your house. And they're called, I think, wood roaches, maybe. And they don't bite you, but they're really big. They're big and brown and scary because they're big, I guess. But they don't bite you, and they don't sting, and they don't smell bad. It's just that when it rains, they want to try to find a place to go into. And, we've got cats, so they don't last very long once they get in our house. I find them feet up. And, of course, we have an exterminator come. And so that takes care of a lot of them, too. But mosquitoes, I probably have seen 6 or 7 mosquitoes in 13 years here. And I grew up in a place, and you might not think this, North Dakota, but at nighttime, or even in the day, if it would, you would walk through the grass and billows of mosquitoes would, come up where your foot went down, and they would like kick out of the grass. And we used to live next to, in Fargo, okay, 1, 2, 3. Hang on, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 3s. Okay, I can do that. I lived next to one of the guys who worked with, oh man, I forgot already. Oh no, I didn't. Right? Okay. Nope. Sorry, I gotta look again. Okay. We lived next to a guy and his wife, and his name was Darwin, and he worked for the city's bug patrol people. So, it sounds like, it was an important job. He was, they did research on how bad the mosquitoes were because, they spread disease. Malaria still is one of the biggest, threats to people's lives in the world, I think. Historically, I think more people have been killed by mosquitoes than any other animal, which is crazy. I may be making that up. I think that's right, though. But, so we lived next to Darwin, which is a great name. And he was very, very sweet and a great gardener. But his job was to, kind of check on the mosquito population in Fargo during the summer and see where they were at. And then they would, go out in their trucks, and his crew would spray neighborhoods to try to control the numbers. And there was one summer that had just been lots of rain and warm weather. And it just was like an ideal breeding summer for mosquitoes. And it seemed like they were particularly bad. And so one day, I was outside and Darwin was outside. And I said, hey, Darwin, how's the mosquito stuff going? He goes, oh, well, we've been busy. And I asked, how the mosquito population was doing. And he said, well, we set these traps, and up by, I think it was up by Trollwood Park, he said, we set some traps, and how many do you think I found in one of the traps? And I think I said, something like 85. And he said, I think it was like 15,000 in one trap. And I doubt they count them by hand. There probably is some kind of a, super scale that can weigh how many 15,000 15,000 mosquitoes, that's got to weigh a considerable amount. Forget the chemicals, just put traps all over town, I guess. But it was a bad mosquito summer. It was. We, one summer, or a couple summers, my mom had heard that brewer's yeast was a good way to prevent mosquitoes from biting you. Because, you know, you can put things on, but then you were supposed to be able to take, like, brewer's yeast tablets and prevent mosquito bites, I guess. I don't know if that's true or if that was an old wives' tale, but we had to take them. And I don't know if there were other, you know, benefits to the brewer's yeast, but I did not like the way they tasted. Even though I like bread and yeasty things, they tasted gross to me. And I don't know. I don't know if it worked or not. I don't know. Maybe it did and maybe it didn't. But we had our first freeze here. I think it got down to 21 night this week. And so that means the bugs, we lost a lot of bugs this week. Right. You still see some in the winter, but just not as many. Okay. Making a house. I like big blocks of stitching because you just don't have to refer to the pattern very often. And this little house here has got, you know, 3 rows of windows that are, the windows are a single stitch wide. And so now that I've done the first row of windows, the second row is easy because I just copied what was up. It was up a couple rows. I really like Brenda Gervais patterns. I hadn't really until this year stitched hardly any, if any. I don't remember if she's ever been in the ornament issue and had an ornament. But they're pretty fun to stitch because they've got lots of variety and the colors are really pretty. And it's fun to do hers because she has a really good eye for color, and sometimes, you know, like I was pulling the threads out for this project, and I think I had all but one of them. One of them I just subbed out a limited edition thread that I had, and it's very close to, I didn't have the endive sampler threads, I think is what it was. But what was I going to say? Oh, so like one of the colors, I want to say it's this color of the dress, is, what color is that? It's Lexington green. And it really looks quite blue. I mean, it's obviously a tealy blue, but it's really pretty. It's not a color that I ever thought I liked so much, but it's actually really nice. It's very, very nice. It would be fun to stitch one of hers in wools. This Gentle Art has a pretty extensive wool collection now. And they're really, really pretty. And nice to stitch with, pretty smooth, you know. You would think, oh, it's scratchy. My husband and I went couch. Did I already say that? We went couch shopping? Yes, I already said that. So we went couch shopping yesterday, which is not something, I don't know, it feels, sometimes when you're shopping for a big purchase like that, and we've needed a new couch for at least 4 years, and we just haven't done it. And, you know, when you go, anytime you go like appliance shopping or furniture shopping, and it's, you know, going to be a larger purchase, it feels like a really important decision because it's like, okay, we're going to live with this for a while. So you want to make sure like you get a good deal, and that you're going to like it. I remember one time we got a couch up in Fargo, and they came to deliver it, and I panicked, you know, because they make a very big deal about you cannot return what you order, you know, unless there's some kind of a defect. Well, they pulled up and they opened the back of the truck, and I saw the couch and it was white. And I was like, oh, no, we did not order a white couch. We ordered a navy couch. But it was just the covering. They had put some kind of a protective covering over the couch, so it just looked like it was white. It was the right color. And the last couple of times we have actually gone to look the last few years at couches and not had good success, because it seems like a lot of the couches now are really deep. Like the style has been that you get a really deep couch and then you just have lots of cushions behind your back to support your back. And I just don't find that to be that comfortable, because pillows get bunchy over time. And I mean, it probably makes a good nap couch if you were looking for a good nap couch, but we just need like a casual couch that we could watch movies on. That kind of thing. Sit and stitch, hang out with the cats. But this time we walked in and there was a charcoal colored couch to the left as we walked in. It was the first one I saw, and I was like, I love that couch. And I hadn't really found one. Like I said, the last few times we went, we would go like once a year to look for one. And we looked through the whole store and looked and looked and looked and looked, and we just went back to that couch that was right in the entryway. So that I'm excited for that, because we really just have needed one. Our couch is not awful. It's just lumpy, and it's just not good. It's just not good anymore. Now the furniture store won't take it away anymore. They used to do that. But they said we could call Christian Services and they would come pick it up. It doesn't have like holes in it or anything. And it's not, like stained / stinky. It has some scratches on the back from our cats. There's like a vinyl, but we've kind of taped over those. So it looks okay. It's just that it's just kind of dingy looking. It happens. Don't get a cream couch. Why did we let us... I told Steve when we were looking, I said, never again. We do not live a cream couch lifestyle. There are definitely people who that works out for them, but it does not work out for us. They say you can have pets and children, or you can have nice things, but you can't have both. It's a little bit true. I'd rather have the kids and the cats, right, guys? All right, I'm almost done with this little window section. This goes so quickly. I'll probably flip it upside down to come back. I love this because it's an urn with a house on it, and then it's full of these blue kind of fruits or flowers. There's this, these urns like full of flowers or fruits or whatever you want to say are kind of ubiquitous on samplers. You see them on old samplers all the time. And sometimes I like them and sometimes I think they're boring. Usually I like them, especially if the colors are cool, because they stitch up pretty quick and they're pretty symmetrical, so you don't have to refer to the pattern a lot. But there was one, and I'm going to put a picture of it right here, or here, or here. And it's by Paulette Stewart, and it's called Strong in the Lord. And I remember when it came out, and I was like, oh, I really like that one. But then I was like, I don't know, are people going to like it? And I went ahead and added it to my website this year, and people love it. And it's like the hugest basket ever. And I just love that it's huge. I saw an antique online recently, and I don't think I have a picture of it, but it had a similarly huge basket. And I just love the enthusiasm behind a motif like that. You know what I mean? Just goes for the gusto. Oh, my poor lady, she has ankles but no feet. Maybe I'll stitch her feet in next so she doesn't have to be footless. I stitched a piece from Cross Stitch and Country Crafts magazine once of a baby in a basin, and it was a crazy one. It was almost full coverage, but it was, like the baby's skin had 7 or 8 colors of all, peachy tones. And when I was stitching it, I stitched the eyes, next, almost last. I got the baby done first, but not the eyes. And my husband at some point said, you're going to need to stitch that baby's eyes in because that's freaking me out. It was this eyeless baby. Yeah, that was funny. Eyeless baby. I loved that magazine. I used to get it in Married Student Housing, I think, even. And then it changed. You know, there was a point at which they got new leadership and they kind of like bumped up the production. You know what I mean? Like it got glossier and it got, you know, kind of more updated as far as the look of it went, like the way the magazine was put together. But they started doing things where it's like just tiny little like barrettes, like cross-stitch barrettes. I think that was in the first or second changed issue. And I was like, boo. Not my favorite. And shortly after I canceled my subscription because there wasn't anything in there anymore that I wanted to stitch. But yeah, that's a great old magazine. They really just, it was awesome. Maybe someday it'll get like that again where there's enough, you know, interest in the country that some kind of a cross-stitch magazine like that would take off again. Just cross-stitch does a pretty good job too, I would say. They really do. But there was just something about cross-stitch and country crafts. Some of those projects were just so amazing. And I have stitched a fair number of things from its pages. I don't think I have issues anymore of cross-stitch and country crafts. I probably lost a bunch of them in our flood. I stitched a Noah's Ark. I'll have to show that in one of my videos. I've got it in here somewhere from there, which, you know, in the old DMC favorites from the 80s, you know, and early 90s, DMC 931, you know, 926, 924, the kind of terracotta colors like 355, you know, 676 gold. It's funny that you could pull certain skeins of thread out of your box of floss and just be transported back several decades to what we used to stitch with all the time. 221, that whole range, 221 to 225, those pinks. We were just, yeah, there were certain colors that just got used all the time. Some of the new colors really are quite nice. DMC added a bunch of really bright colors, which probably for some of the younger people is working out. And maybe like Satsuma Street, because she uses really cool colors, kind of brighter, bold, really fun colors. But they added a bunch of other colors too that are more kind of, you know, sampler or prim colors also. The neons, I can't imagine they get a lot of use. Maybe they do though. Maybe we just don't know. And I know that, you know, we tend to think of embroidery floss as like a cross-stitcher's ingredient or, you know, one of our supplies that we use. But I think a lot of people use DMC floss for various and sundry things. I mentioned this Angela Clayton on my latest Stitchy Tube. She does really cool, she does costumes. Like she creates and designs costumes, and she's really young, so she's still learning a lot about designing costumes. I think she works with McCall's though, so I think she does projects for them. And she does really cool photography of her wearing these wonderful costumes. And I was watching a few videos of hers this week, and she actually uses embroidery floss in her costume makings. Like she's got such a great eye for fabric. Like she picks fabrics that you think, oh, no way. And then it's amazing. I mean, she's got to be on the road to being like some kind of a, you know, costume designer for Hollywood or something. I just think she's amazing. But she uses embroidery floss to do things like, you know, put a like a running stitch along the edge of a garment to just add texture and a tiny little bit of color. And I think it's, you know, details like that really make something look really cool and, you know, like extra. I watched her make a hat last night before I went to bed with all kinds of flowers and feathers and things on it, and that was kind of cool. Like she's constructed a hat from scratch. And actually the way she did it, it was like, oh, I could probably do that. I could make a hat. But I'm not going to get into making hats, I don't think. Hats in the 80s used to be kind of a thing. We all, you know, I just remembered wearing hats to church and things, parties. And my mom and I would go garage sale shopping, and I would pick up hats. I remember I had a fur hat once that I got at a garage sale, probably for like $10. Seemed like a lot of things at garage sales during that time period were a dime. I'd get books. I had a whole room full of books. And I collected kind of costume jewelry from the early 1900s, through the probably 40s. And I would get stuff super cheap. Kind of just costume jewelry, nothing super fancy. So let's see, hats, bangles. Sometimes I would get earrings, but a lot of times the earrings that were cool were clip-ons. And I'm sorry, clip-ons are not comfortable. I don't think. I would sometimes wear them to school, and I lost a pair once that was my grandmother's because I wore them to school and my ears just by third period were burning. And I took them off and I set them on the lower part of the desk had like a book place for your books underneath. And I set them there, and later when I realized I had left them there, I went back and they were gone. It's kind of a bummer. I still have the brooch that matched the earrings. But yeah, clip-ons to me are not that comfortable. Maybe they probably make them better now than they used to. Back then it was like, especially if it was a heavy earring, it was like a huge clamp they would have to put on to hold it onto your head. But that was the era of, I don't know if y'all remember the movie Pretty in Pink. Andy was Molly Ringwald, and she wore all that kind of stuff, the vintage things. And she would, make new outfits out of old pieces of clothing, and I thought that was so cool. I used to wear suspenders, 80s big balloon pants, some of the stuff. One of my favorite things from back then, and I thought it was going to make a comeback here recently because I saw it again, was pinstripe jeans, where it's like denim, but it's got like a pinstripe running through it, and they're so cool. Gerbeau was the brand that everybody wore, Gerbeau jeans, and of course like Guess and Levi's. But they say that the jean companies nowadays are having trouble because everybody's wearing leggings, which, hello, why would you not? Have you worn leggings? Because they're amazing. So comfortable. It's funny that we dress in ways that are not comfortable. I mean, I guess if you really like clothing. I just see clothing as just like we should put clothes on ourselves, but why not be comfortable and have something that you like? I'm in my like ratty Gap t-shirt today and my jeans that I cut off at the bottom. But that's what's comfortable. They make all these jeans now with the, like the spandex in them, which is pretty cool too. This is going to be so pretty. My friends and I did this. This is our second exchange, and I think we're going to take a break for a while. But we did a pincushion exchange, which was fun. So every couple months we had to give homemade pincushion to somebody else in the group. And then this was a sampler exchange, so we did this one with a 6-month window. But like I said, Jen and I are a little late on these. But we knew we were each running late. It's not like we just knew it. But I'm trying to get it done. And then I have a project I'm working on for Sue. And like I said, I'm going to make some project bags. And I've been trying to decide what to do for next year, like if I want to have some kind of a stitching goal. I think I had mentioned in another video that it would be neat to make even if I could do an ornament a month for myself. I've given away a fair number of cross-stitched ornaments, but I haven't really kept very many. And I get Prairie Schooler envy, from seeing some of the people like Priscilla and Vana and other people who have like a whole bunch of cross-stitched ornaments, especially the Prairie Schooler ones are so cool. But it would be cool. I just love Kathy Barrick's style so much. I think it would be fun to have a Kathy Barrick style tree, and I know she's done a few ornaments in the cross-stitch issue and the just cross-stitch issues, which I've got, and to pick motifs from some of her other samplers. But seeing that bird tree today, that just knocked my socks off. And, it's stuff that obviously doesn't take a ton of resources. A lot of that stuff is just DMC or, whatever, and a tiny piece of fabric. So it's really just the time and then the finishing. But I like doing the finishing. So I don't know, maybe that'll be one of my goals for next year. I don't have a ton of UFOs. I actually got a bunch done this year, not as many as Jen. Jen had like 39 or something crazy like that finishes for the year. She just had she did a Stacey Nash piece, I think called Grace Bridges, which she has just always loved, and she finished it finally. 1, 2, 3. This was 3. Okay, and then 3 again, and then 3. Okay. Okay, where was I going with that? Back over. So she finished Grace Bridges, which is really cool. It has a big wonky peacock on it. She had it framed beautifully by Neblets. It looks so great. So it'll be fun to see where she hangs that. Oop, I went back into screensaver mode. But she finished a lot this year, and I don't have that many. I suppose I should take count, maybe. I think it's cool that people have, like, a lot of stitchers, it seems like, have ways to organize things, you know. Jen keeps a list, and she's got all kinds of information, like when she started it, and I just don't. I don't know. I don't. I think it's neat, though. It would be cool to do that. But realistically, I'm 50. Am I going to start that now? Probably not. So I'll just keep stitching. I'll use that time to stitch, I guess. Grumpy, you're such a nice lap warmer. She's so nice. Okay, wait, where am I going? Oop, I gotta go over one. All right. Brenda Gervais has a lot of really pretty Christmas stuff too. I love the reds that she uses. So, you know, maybe I'll make some, I don't know. I think, you know, maybe just this coming year it'll be just like trying some new things, or I don't know. I'm a big believer in kind of, you know, not holding yourself with a hobby. It's like, to me, I don't want too many rules. So if I don't feel like working on something, I don't want to force myself to work on it, because then it feels like not fun, and then you don't want to do it. And I'm not one like to go crazy where it's like, oh, I only want to start things. Starting something is fun, but it's also a little bit daunting, because it's like you have zero of it done, and it's fun to pull the threads and the fabric and get it all together. But you put that first little bit in, and it feels like such a tiny portion of the whole. Do you know what I'm saying? And to me, the fun part is when you get almost done. Like when you're 90% done and you're like, okay, I'm in the home stretch, and you're just like galloping for the finish line. To me, that's fun. To get it finished up and then to just enjoy it. I get that little knot sometimes, you know, at the end of your thread, you have like a tiny little tail, and then there's a knot that forms. And sometimes, like right now, I'm just putting up with it, and it's making a ka-chunk every time it goes through the fabric. I keep hoping that it will magically unwind itself, as it sometimes does, but usually it doesn't. But whatever. The trials and tribulations of a stitcher. Right, Grumpy? But I think this week, so it's Thanksgiving week, and things are really going to get quiet. I've got about 100 orders to pack tomorrow. There'll probably be quite a few added tonight yet, because people are really buying a lot of stuff for the fundraiser, which is great. And Graham can't come, so it's going to take me a good chunk of the day to get those all packed up and shipped out. I'm going to go to the grocery store, I have some of my Thanksgiving food ingredients so far, but I'm going to go get the rest of it tomorrow, I think, during the day, because I don't want to go like the day before. That's nutso. I did at the grocery store pick up this last week some of it that I was like, okay, if I don't get this now, I may not find it. And one of the things I did, because this has been for us a little bit of a cleaning out year, we need to continue into next year, but I cleaned through my spices, which you probably should do fairly frequently. And I threw away our nutmeg and our cloves because they were really old. And so I knew I was going to need that again to make pumpkin pie, and probably for other holiday baking. We sometimes make gingerbread cookies. And so I got the cloves and the nutmeg. And I overheard the funniest I never pictured myself as a Walmart shopper. And it's not, I'm not against Walmart. It's just, I live in a smaller town and we don't have a lot of options. And our Walmart is actually very clean. The employees are very sweet and it's pretty close to our house. So that's where I get a lot of my groceries. I do not get my meat there because it doesn't always look the greatest, but I got, I was getting my cloves and my nutmeg, and there was this older lady, probably, I don't know, 75-ish, with her husband, and they were standing next to their grocery cart by the spices, and I wasn't like ogling them. I just was listening in while I was deciding. And the woman goes, "Do you know how much money it is to buy the dish soap that we like to use? Do you know how much it is now?" And I don't think he said very much. I don't think he answered her at all. She goes, "It's $2.45. That should be a crime. I'm going to call somebody. There is no way, there's no reason it needs to be that expensive." I mean, it's store brand and it's good, so that's nice, but not 44 cents more nice. Apparently it had gone up 44 cents. She was so mad about it. Things get more expensive, and I catch myself doing that too. You get older and you're like, because I remember my mom would stop sometimes on the way home from church. We would stop at Stop and Go in Fargo to get a half gallon of milk because we were, low or out or whatever. And I remember my mom would give me $1 and a dime to get a half gallon of milk, and I would run in and get it at the gas station to get it. And so sometimes I catch myself, at the grocery store going, ugh, I remember when this was 99 cents a pound. Well, it's not anymore. It just isn't going to be. Things used to be a nickel. They're not going to be a nickel anymore. Like penny candy, there isn't even such a thing anymore, is there? Is penny candy? My grandparents had a house in Brampton, North Dakota, which doesn't even really super exist anymore. It was a very, 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 very small town. I mean, I would call it a hamlet it was almost no houses, but they had a little main street, and their house, the back of their house faced what was the main street, which was a little strip of 5 or 6 storefronts. And one of them, I think, had been like a hardware store of some kind, and it had a big, how they would paint the ads on the side of the building. It had a big thing on the side of the building, and it might have been like Occident Flour or something like that. And so that was long since boarded up and kind of spooky because you could see stuff in there, and like the floors had collapsed, and then there was a little post office that was still opening, I think, when I was little, but it shut down shortly after. And then there was a gas station, and there was Vi's. And Vi lived in her shop. So she lived in the back of the store, and it was a little tiny, tiny grocery store with wooden floor. With a wooden floor. And you knew that it had been there a long time because the floor was worn. Like, it had seen enough customers in its day that the floor going into Vi's was... let me turn this down just a bit. The floor going into Vi's was like worn and kind of warped, and it had a big old wood door with glass and like a heavy duty brass handle. And Vi seemed old to me at the time, but she probably was the age I am now, or thereabouts. And you would, go in, and she would be kind of just sitting and just, slightly back from the main, checkout area. And she had, cereal and popsicles and just kind of, basics. And I can't imagine she had a ton of business. I don't know how she stayed open. Because this, like I'm saying, there was almost nobody in this town. I don't remember my grandma buying anything there. I think she went all the way into Foreman, probably for her groceries. I'm not sure. But we would go to Vi's every trip with, a few nickels or a dime or a quarter or whatever, and we could go get candy at Vi's. And she had this great old wooden display case with the curved, it was like curved and it had shelves, and the curved part was all glass, and it was probably like oak, like this oak display thing, and it was full of candy, and it was the most magical cabinet because it just had, all kinds of candy, Charms blow pops and Charm suckers, and it had sprees and sweet tarts and tartantinies and different kinds of candy bars and wacky wafers, which they just brought back, by the way, and just all the kind of candy that was popular there in the 70s and early 80s. And so we would go over there sometimes, and we would I think it was a nickel to get one of those, what do you call them, it's like a tube of popsicle. I think Otter Pops is one of the brand names, and so we would sometimes go over there for that. And I guess one time, they sent me with a nickel, and I got halfway there and I dropped it and I couldn't find it. I don't remember that. They would talk about it like it was kind of a funny thing, and they probably gave me another nickel, but they said I was really bent out of shape, like super sad. And so, Vi's closed. I don't know when. I probably was a teenager. But I think sometimes about that display case, that oak display case with the glass, and how much fun it would be to actually have that. Because for me, it's just like such a cool, it's like a cool memory. But I think, I think eventually they raised all of those old buildings. The gas station at the end of the block actually had one of the soda pop machines where it was full, like it was like the 10-ounce bottles of pop, and you would put your money in, and it was like a door that would open, and some kind of a latch would like loosen, and you could pull one soda out, and it had like a soda pop opener on the front. I think it was a Coca-Cola type machine. That was really cool too. But the grain elevator burned down one year when I was, maybe about 20. And just slowly I think my grandparents' house also burned down at some point. But I'm sure there's just almost practically nothing left. I remember, playing outside. The next door neighbors had a kid. What was her name? Lisa? That was between my age and my brother's age. My brother and I are 3 years apart. And we would go next door sometimes to play with her. And then there was a little boy named Owen across the street. And we would play with him sometimes too. And sometimes we would get to go in the chicken pen, and we did a lot of playing outside. I remember once going to his birthday party. He was kind of a rough and tumble, like very old-fashioned boy. Very, very much small town. He was sweet, though. I think he ended up in the army. But I don't know, I don't know how many people there are left. And because it was small at the time, and it's got to be just almost nobody lives there now. And it's got to be so, like lonely in the winter, because North Dakota winters are pretty brutal, and there's a lot of snow. Memories! We used to have not a rule in our family, but we used to have this thing where my parents would take us to Stop and Go, the gas station, on Sunday after church, and we could pick out 3 pieces of candy. And I think eventually they set a price limit because we kind of started to really just take advantage of what 3 pieces meant. But we would get, like the Jolly Rancher sticks. They came on a stick, and those were 10 cents, I remember. And they had lipsticks. It was like a lipstick, but it had like a sweet tart type, like the lipstick was made of like a sweet tart type material. And like I said, we would get Nerds or Tartantinies, or they had fruits. I think I saw them again recently. It's a plastic fruit with a cap on the top that you could twist off. And it was filled with like pixie stick powder that was flavored like the fruit. So you could get like pineapple and orange and strawberry. And those also were kind of a bottom shelf thing. I think those were also like 10 cents maybe, or 15 cents. And my brother and I, we liked that. We liked Tangy Taffy was another one. We liked that too. And so we would get all of this really sweet, sugary candy. And I just remember some days my dad would get so frustrated because he'd be like, "That's not candy. I'm going in. I'm going to get you guys candy." And he would get us like Milky Ways, which bleh. I don't want Milky Ways. He's like, that's candy. No. And then one year, my brother had 6 cavities and nobody got candy anymore. We were all cut off. Because Pete wasn't brushing his teeth, I guess. So, that's how it goes. The candy train dried up after a while. I guess I feel sorry for my sister because I don't know how long she got to participate in after church candy at Stop and Go. I still remember that, going to look. Sometimes we would look at the comic books. They actually had spinner racks of like Archie and Casper the Friendly Ghost and like Spider-Man and things like that. Sometimes we would get a comic book at the grocery store, which I don't think they do these days. They maybe should. Maybe they do well. My husband said he would like to pick out some of the fabrics for the project bags I'm going to make. The ones for like his mom and his sister-in-law. Our sister-in-law, I guess I should say. My sisters-in-law. And I think really once I want to like kind of, assembly line a number of them and just really get good at making, like I said, this one size. It's hard for me to relax. I mean, it seems like it should be easy, but I've always been a very busy person. And I'm happy when I'm busy. But I have to be so careful because sometimes like last Monday I said I worked for 13 hours in a row. And then I just utterly collapsed on Tuesday and Wednesday. I just can't do that anymore. It's a bummer. So I'm trying to find what the magic number of hours it is. 13 turns out is not the magic number of hours that I can work in a day. Because I'm counting, that's 13 hours of work, like my business. That doesn't include laundry, grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning, that kind of thing. So, darn it, I do enjoy it. But I think it'll be fun to make these project bags. And it'll let me use up some of my pretty fabrics that I have. Angela Clayton on her channel had some beautiful fabrics. It's Cafe. Is it Cafe Faucet or Cafe Faucet? I always want to say Cafe, but then I think it's pronounced Cafe. And he's a cool guy. He's designed, I think, a lot of needlepoint and a lot of fabrics. And his color choices are always super bright. Now, see, I've got this knot, and it still doesn't want to let go. And so he has this beautiful fabric that is cabbages. And that sounds weird, but they're beautiful cabbages in all these different colors with big veins. And they're very rich looking. And I thought that would make kind of a cool project bag. But I don't need any more project bag fabric. I really don't. But it is going to be fun to use some of what I've got. I still need to work on my quilt too that I started. That's also fun. I need to get myself a new rotary cutter blade because I think mine is starting to not be so sharp anymore. I do, that is something that I do use. I don't use it to cut my fabric here, like linen and things, but I do use it for like smalls and whatnot. And it's like actually even like a little rusty. I don't know how long I've had that particular blade. I don't think I've ever replaced it, so it's probably pretty old. It's fun to imagine what people like 100 years ago, stitchers 100 years ago, or quilters, if you showed them what we have available now, how amazed they would be at like just the abundance of beautiful fabrics and the tools, and they just would think it was so fun. And it makes you wonder too, what does the future hold for how much better could it get? I'm sure that everybody thinks that, When they invented the first sewing machine, they're like, this is as good as it will ever get. I don't know that we can improve on this, but they do. Right, Grumpy? Is it bath time? Well, I've gone on and on for about an hour, which is about what I like to do. Because then I'm just going to start coughing a lot. It's hard to talk for an hour in a way. My mom watches my videos now and she's like, how can you talk for just an hour? Well, there's a lot to say. I don't know if you guys find this to be true, but like during the day, my mind is just it's a continual barrage of thoughts, ideas, feelings, words, ramblings. So really what I'm doing, I guess when I film these hang with me videos, is I'm just verbalizing the thoughts that are going through my head. I'm going to finish this last row. Then I'll have the main part of the house done. Then I can do the windows, and I'll feel like I really made progress. And I have the dude left to do, and then some birds and some bees and the words, and it'll be great. Now with the sampler exchange, we did not do it to where you framed what you stitched for everybody. You just give them the unframed needlework. I have framed mine from Sue and from Kathy. And I don't know what I'm getting from Jen. I'm sure it's good. She picks out fun things. I think you could do some cool stuff with working needlework into project bags too. There are so many neat ones now. If you go on like Etsy, there are so many people making them. And you can really, see somebody's personality by the types of, even just by the types of fabrics that they pick out. I'm not a great seamstress. I think it's fine to give things as gifts, just hoping that people don't don't think too poorly of whatever my binding on the sides. She taught us how to do this binding all the way around the edges on our project bag, and she did not cut on the bias, which I asked her because I knew that's a lot of times people cut on the bias for binding. And she said, really, you don't need to cut on the bias if you're doing just a right angled, like if you're just doing a quilt that just has 4 90-degree angles in the corners, you don't need to cut on the bias. She said, you cut on the bias and maybe this is wrong, but this is what she said. You cut on the bias if you need to make curves. So if you have like a scalloped edge on something or a curve for some reason, then you would cut on the bias because it bends around those curves much more easily. I can see where doing the binding by hand would take longer, but I think because I'm used to this, this kind of sewing, probably as a cross stitcher, it wouldn't seem like as big of a deal to hand stitch the binding. And she said, what you can do is machine bind the back, so that it's on, and then just because then you can hide that seam, and then the front you can do by hand, and then it's completely hidden, which is pretty cool. I guess you could kind of do a decorative stitch too, where you kind of make wonky stitches. If you're interested, there's a book by Amy Sedaris, and it's, what is it called? She did this book about crafting. She also did one about entertaining, and it's off color. I mean, I'm just going to warn you, if you get offended easily at all, it might not be your thing. But if you like Amy Sedaris, she's a comedian / actress and writer. Her brother David Sedaris is famous for his essays, his humorous essays. But she did a book about crafting that's just hilarious because it's kind of her projects are very 1970s, like using rocks and googly eyes, and it's very funny. It's fun to read. Lots of crazy photography, But it's not for the faint of heart. Just be ye warned. All right, I'm down to the last 3. This isn't going to be a very exciting reveal because it's all white, and there are no windows in this yet. But the house is complete. And I think it looks pretty good. I have a little fleck of something here. I think it might just be in the thread, but it's going to get covered up. Oh no, did I get it? Oh, it was just a fuzz. It was just a little old fuzz. All right, here's the reveal. Oh, I don't know, is it? So you can see, there's the house. There it is. It's looking real cute. It's looking very cute. So this one's been pretty fun. I think it would be cute to make this lady. All right, let me get this secured here back. This lady, I think she would be cute in a red dress and make her like Mrs. Claus. You could do like kind of white hair and make an ornament. I think it would be cute and have her holding up like a red kind of poinsettia flower or something. That would be cute. This is just an I don't know piece of fabric. I have a bag, a zippered bag full of just pieces of miscellaneous fabric that it's, if I don't have a quarter yard or something anymore, I put it in this bag, and it's perfect for, little projects like this because then I'm not cutting out of a quarter. Sometimes you need a bigger piece. And for these type of projects, you just really don't. So that's going to be it for me today. It's already getting dark outside. I waited kind of a while to film this, but that's okay. It's okay. You guys can wait. You guys can wait. I hope you have a great week. I will be, I'll put news on my site and stuff too, but I'm going to be closed for Thanksgiving weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to try not to work. But, I'm around. So I hope you guys have a great holiday week. And I'm going to go make, I think, some chicken soup maybe. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I will hang with you next time. Bye.